This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today, a hopefully brief rundown of every film I watched in February 2026. We're talking everything from big budget spectaculars to small independent films. Films range from the 1940s to all the way up to 2025. Genres range from action to film noir to horror and even more. And about half are on disc and about half are on streaming. And I'll also tell you where you can stream these films. Let's check it out. I'm going to go in order of when I watched these films in February. And let's start with which films I watched on disc. Beginning with Chow Pan Teen, also known as So Long Stooge, from 1983. I gave 5 stars to this French film noir on Radiance label. And César Awards went to the lead and supporting actors. They played these sad, doomed characters in kind of a father-son relationship, living in a sketchy part of Paris. You can check out my episode for more details about this film. The second film I watched on disc in February is The Warriors from 1979. I gave 4 stars to this sort of modern take on the Odyssey, in which one gang tries to make it home safely, avoiding several obstacles, mainly other gangs and the police. Walter Hill directed this with his usual economic, fast-paced style. It's highly entertaining, though I think women and the gay community will probably be offended by some of the things from this 1979 film. This is the imprint special edition that comes with the theatrical cut, and there's the back of it if you're interested. And it also comes with the director's cut, which from what I understand is inferior to the theatrical cut. And this takes up a lot of space, this one. I think I will probably be better off with the just the Arrow, simple Arrow edition of this, the one disc, or the slim edition on Arrow of this one. And for those of you keeping score, by the way, yes, this disc froze on my Panasonic 820 with about 15 minutes left, a big climactic fight scene. So I had to put it into my Sony machine and watch the rest of it. The next thing I watched on disc, Girl with Hyacinths from 1950. I gave 4 stars to this noirish Swedish film about a young woman who kills herself at the very beginning of the film, and then the neighbors who investigate what motivated her to do that. What it was is a big surprise. And it reminded me a little bit of Citizen Kane, just structurally, where we have a main character die at the beginning and then the rest of the film, people trying to figure out what happened. This is part of this Noir, World Noir Volume 3 set from Radiance, and I did a whole episode about this set if you want to check that out for more details. And also from that set is the next thing I watched, which is Not Guilty from 1947. I also gave 4 stars to this one. It's a French film noir about an alcoholic doctor who develops a taste for murder, with a very interesting lead performance by a very interesting actor, Michel Simon. And then the third film from that same World Noir set is the next thing I watched, and that is The Lost One from 1951. I only gave 2 stars to this disappointing film, German film noir, directed by and starring the great Peter Lorre, the only film he ever directed. It has its moments, but narratively it's quite a mess. And like I said, you can check out my episode for more details on the film, on the World Noir Volume 3 set. And the last film that I watched on disc in February is A Vampire Circus from 1972. I gave 3.5 stars to this one. All these star ratings, by the way, are out of 5 stars, just so you know. And I gave 3.5 stars for this solid Hammer horror film about a small village that is cursed after the villagers kill a vampire. Then this little circus comes to town, and all the performers in that circus are vampires, basically, or shapeshifters. This has a common format a common structure that many of these Hammer films had, where it begins with a killing of like a supernatural being or a witch or someone like that, and then the rest of the film is the curse that was put on the other people that did the killing. There's some female nudity in here, some bright red blood, some semi-graphic kills, and various things like that on the menu. I think it would have been a little bit more effective if we had a strong lead character, a lead protagonist, but we don't. But this is Synapse Blu-ray with some very good extras on the back if you want to check that out. All right, let's move on to which films I watched on various streaming services. And like I said, I'll tell you which services you can see these on. This is in order of when I watched them, beginning with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Finally saw that. It's from 2025, and I saw this on Paramount Plus. I gave 3.5 stars for what I think is the final installment in the Mission Impossible series. It's, of course, a big budget, slick action movie. I enjoyed the series, actually. The dialogue here is a bit wooden, and the plot's a little silly, and it's repeated to us several times throughout the film. The action scenes, the real big action scenes, are very impressive, even if some of them kind of overstay their welcome, I thought. Next up, streaming, I watched If I Had Legs, I'd Kill You from 2025. This was on HBO, and unfortunately, just a 1.5 star rating for me, and that's mainly because of Rose Byrne, who I think is just great in everything she does. But it's just another one of those films filled with unlikable people yelling at each other and a lead character who's just melting down for 2 hours. We never really understand the main character, I didn't think. And I really didn't understand why everyone was so mean to her throughout the film. The third film I watched on streaming, Black Narcissus from 1947. I saw this on the Criterion Channel, and I gave a big 5 stars for this Michael Powell, Emmerich Pressburger film about a group of nuns who set up a mission in a very remote area in the Himalayas. It features just stunning Technicolor and production design just from start to finish of this film. Is quite the visual thing to see, and good story too, actually, and good performances too. One filmmaker said it's a film about desire, and I thought that was quite an astute observation. The fourth thing I saw streaming, Brightburn from 2019. This was on Netflix. 3 stars for this horror film. It's been on my watch list for quite a while. It's basically a kind of a take on the Superman origin story, but once this kid becomes a teenager, he becomes really bad and really powerful. So he's like the evil Superman story, and he almost is basically a serial killer at one point. The gore, I thought, got a little bit gratuitous. I don't like eyeball stuff at all. And Elizabeth Banks plays one of the most clueless mothers I've ever seen on a film before. The fifth film I watched on streaming in February is Cry of the Banshee from 1970. I saw this on Amazon Prime. I gave it 3.5 stars. It's another Hammer horror film in which a person, this time a witch, puts a curse on an entire family, and then they're just kind of picked off one by one. The great Vincent Price plays this evil magistrate who causes all this evil to occur. I like this one a lot, and I heard some really negative things about it, so I knew it would just come out on Blu-ray. So before I decided to buy it, I thought, let me just watch like the first 20 minutes. I got hooked and watched the whole thing, and then once I saw the Blu-ray was disappearing from various vendors, FOMO kicked in, and this arrived just today. Cry of the Banshee is on Blu-ray, and these Hammer editions are really killing it, and they're very tempting, unfortunately. But look at that cover. Fantastic, right? And there is the back of it. And I'll show you the, this is the slipcover. And there is the alternate artwork. And the back of that. If you do want this, I wouldn't hesitate because, like I said, they're disappearing rather quickly. All right. The next thing I saw streaming is I Know Where I'm Going from 1945 on the Criterion Channel. 2.5 stars only for this, for the fourth Powell Pressburger film that I've seen. And it's my least favorite of the 4 that I've seen, actually. It's about a determined young woman whose plans are continuously interrupted but had good lead performances. The setting's very interesting. I thought there were way too many characters. Nice action-packed climactic scene, but I wasn't that engaged with the plot, really. The seventh film I watched streaming in February, Predator: Badlands from 2025 on Hulu, and unfortunately only 2 stars for this very different take on the Predator story. I had loyal viewer Jarvis recommend this to me. The Kazdoy Closet Jr. recommended it to me. But wow, you know, they make the Predator the protagonist in this film, and he's trying to work through his daddy issues while Elle Fanning, without any legs, wants him to kind of get in touch with his feelings. So there's also this little cutesy creature who joins their little, ersatz family. And 5 or 10 minutes into this film, I thought, oh, he's the protagonist in this. This is a whole different take. I don't know if I'm on board with this. Let me try. And, I think either you're on board with this concept or you're not. For me, didn't really work for me. I want the Predator to be like, a bad guy that the good guys have to attack. The 8th thing I watched streaming, Blue Moon from 2025. This is on Netflix. 3.5 stars for this one. It's about Broadway composer Lorenz Hart as he unwinds really near the end of his career. Just be aware it takes place on one set during one night and is all dialogue heavy. A lot of it relies on Ethan Hawke's performance as Lorenz Hart. He's very good in this. A lot of it, Richard Linklater was a director, so I kept thinking of the Before trilogy that they did together. His character in here, multi-layered, arrogant, insecure, creative, witty. I think if you love language and wordplay, I think you'll really appreciate this one. The 9th film that I watched streaming is Chain Reactions from 2024. This was on Shudder, and I gave 4 stars for this documentary in which 5 different creative people, including Patton Oswalt and Stephen King, reflect on how the film The Texas Chainsaw Massacre influenced and motivated them. But instead of a lot of talking heads in this film, this documentary, we see plenty of clips from that film and really from other landmarks of horror cinema going all the way back to the silent era. I'm not sure I agree with the lavish praise that these artists go to regarding Chainsaw, but it did encourage me to revisit the film. It's been a while. And their views, of course, are highly personal. So if you're interested in that film and how creative people are motivated and influenced, I think you're going to like this one. And finally, the 10th thing I saw streaming was Anomalisa from 2015. This was on the Criterion Channel. I think it's gone now, so you might have to check that out. And I've said before, I'm not a big fan of animation, but I gave 5 stars for this stop motion film about an author who is visiting Cincinnati to deliver a speech about customer service. I saw this in the theater in 2015, so this is the first time I've watched it again. And I just find it really fascinating. It has so many themes about conformity and alienation and self-delusion and midlife crisis. I think it packs more into that than most live action films. So there's the rundown of what I watched in February 2026. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Maybe what's the best thing you've seen in February 2026? Feel free to share that with us. Leave a thumbs up. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Share this with your friends and neighbors. Subscribing is free. Also free is we are always on the Letterboxd app under the Kazdoy Closet. There's a link in the notes down below that will take you right there if you want to check out what else we're watching. And what's not free is my ebook is available. It is True Tales from the Teacher Trenches, the ups and downs from 32 years of teaching. And it's for your Kindle. It's included with Kindle Unlimited. Otherwise, it's $1.99 at Amazon.com. So, hope you like this one. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.